Fingers, Nitroid, DaysAhead, ApacheSmash, I need you. Listen, there's a special interview happening on the Kojima Frequency. They're talking to Christopher Randolph. You've got to be there. It's very important. And Snake? Snake? You've got to be there too. Can you hear me, Snake? Snake? Snake!
Hey, I'm Fingers.
Yo, it's ApacheSmash.
Hey everyone, this is DaysAhead.
And I'm Nitroid. You're listening to the Kojima Frequency.
I have to say, a lot of people use Discord now. I find it really confusing because I don't use it all the time. So
Yeah.
I don't really.
Don't feel bad. We use it all the time, and it is confusing.
Well, there you go.
We're just happy to have you with us here tonight, and it's really an honor to have you on the podcast.
Oh, good. Well, I hope I live up to that.
It's funny. We did the when we did the 25th anniversary panel. We were doing all the setup for that, and it was just funny. Like to me, just sitting there going, man, I'm sitting here helping out the voice of Otacon with tech help, just setting it up on Discord. And it was just the irony there was so.
Well, I will say this, and I might be, I wouldn't be doxing myself. This is very general, but I know a lot of engineers that I have to teach very simple things. So I don't know. It's not out of the realm for someone like Otacon to need.
He's more of a MIRC guy, or ICQ probably. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always embarrassed me a little that as when I'm not Otacon, I really have no clue about technology. I have a very dear friend who's a coder. That's his profession, and he understands it all in depth.
Yeah.
And then my college roommate has started and sold multiple tech companies. So
Whoa.
I have tech friends, but.
That's all you need.
Yeah, right. And I have you guys. So,
yeah, exactly. You only need one Donatello, really. Just it all works out.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, Chris, don't worry about it. I'm absolutely useless. I have to get these guys to show me how to do all kinds of things with computers, like switch it on, not let it blow up.
I recently taught Apache how to click and drag his window on Windows, so that it can make little layouts to lock your windows into nice little boxes.
Yeah, that's valuable. That's valuable.
We're going to get you up to Excel spreadsheets one of these days, buddy.
Oh gosh. That makes me want to run and hide. Just saying Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah. Not a great time.
No.
I'm just imagining Otacon be like, man, I hate Excel.
He probably would invent his own.
Yeah, he'd be like, screw this.
Yeah,
totally.
I'm going to try not to cough into the mic because of my kid giving me the flu.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
It's all right. I'm on the tail end of it, but I was saying kids are petri dishes. They bring something home. You're getting it.
They really are. My stepdaughter is a Montessori teacher for little kids, and she picks stuff up all the time.
Yeah, teachers get hit the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question.
I don't think they're ever not sick.
Yeah, that's right.
So how the heck are you?
Well, I'm okay. I'm doing all right. It's it's been pretty quiet this year for a variety of reasons. That the industry itself is, I think, still recovering from the strike, and been doing a little bit of work here and there, but mostly kind of domestic work. My the same stepdaughter I just mentioned just had a baby.
Congrats.
Yeah.
So my wife is a grandmother now, and I'm a step grandfather, which is a strange thing to do. But that all went very well. So that's been the focus of attention for a while.
Yeah. It definitely does seem like the industry is at a weird place right now where it's just, it kind of does seem like they would be kind of halting any new productions. It seems like a reevaluation time where everybody's going, hold on, We just
Yeah.
lost a bunch of money. Let's not keep doing that. And a lot of things are getting cut, and just it's a bloodbath out here right now. It looks like from the outside in.
It's really bad. No, it's really true. And I don't know. I read some various trade newsletters and stuff, and I'm sure someone like David Hayter could tell you, writers in Hollywood, particularly right now, are just struggling to get hired. There are a lot of people who are out of work. Because they're just, the studios are just in a holding pattern.
I was gonna say, like, on the audition side of that, like, have you just seen a big drop off of anything available? I don't know if you're still looking, with either voice roles or acting in real life or.
Right. Well, I'm open to whatever comes my way, and it's been difficult. I mean, yes, there are less auditions, and everyone I talk to says that's the case. I don't get to audition for voice work as much as I would like, largely because I don't live in Los Angeles anymore, and most of that work happens out there. But there's one project that I'm working on that's been going on for a couple of years now, and so every now and then there's a little more work there to do. Takes years to put these things together,
Yeah.
And then like I have a small recurring part as a judge on Law and Order. And occasionally they call me to come and do an afternoon on one of those episodes, but that hasn't happened, and I think this winter it didn't happen. So I think they've stopped production for the year. They'll start up again in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Law and Order. They'll never completely stop.
It is astounding. At any time of day, in almost every place in the world, there's a Law and Order running on some channel or another. It's it's just astounding. And Dick Wolf, God bless him, he's got like 5 other shows on the air, so he's doing okay.
Yeah, so that are just in constant rotation at all times.
Yeah. Are we like live now? I'm like confused about what we're.
We usually kind of treat it like a fireside chat, just like sit around, talk. If you've got a drink, throw it back. It's not like a structured interview.
I think that's awesome, and I actually listened to the one you did with David Hayter fairly recently, and that was the sense I got, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
It's nice to just sort of sit back and shoot the breeze, rather than.
Yeah, that's kind of what we wanted to. That was our aim tonight. It was kind of just have it's a casual chat with Christopher Randolph, and it's not just like everything Metal Gear, and how'd you get into voice acting? It's just like, oh god, like let's talk kind of about what's more like in your wheelhouse these days.
Yeah.
Just more you as a person than the lore.
We had one gentleman who thought we were gonna quiz him on the lore. And we try not to give that vibe.
You're welcome to quiz me, but I don't know how well I do.
Well, I do have a quiz for you, but it's not Metal Gear related.
Oh, okay. Well, that's I'll probably do better then.
Yeah. So since you did listen to the David Hayter interview, this shouldn't come out of left field when we ask you, how do you cook your steak?
Important questions.
Oh, I did hear that.
Yeah.
Well, I like my steak somewhere between rare and medium rare.
Okay.
So like a little rarer than medium rare.
Got it.
Is how I like it.
Any particular cut with that, like that you like to do? Or?
That's interesting. I mean, my preference is usually a ribeye if I can get a hold of a good,
Nice.
really prime ribeye. Interestingly, my wife prefers the filet mignon. And so we do tend to eat a lot of that. I mean, it's because that's what she likes.
That's a better one to do in that like rare to like medium rare range.
Right.
So that's kind of what I was asking. I was like, all right, that really rocks in that filet mignon area. But for me,
Yeah.
Just melts when you eat it.
anything else, I'm like, let's go up one more level. Like
Right,
that's it.
right.
So.
Right. Well, and it also depends on how you're cooking it. I mean,
Yeah.
are you throwing it on the grill, or are you going to do it in a cast iron pan, or are you going to sous vide it first?
I've been looking for one of those. I want that as a birthday gift to myself.
Well, listen, let me tell you, because
let's go.
I'm a big home cook. I love.
Oh yeah.
I love to cook and do it a lot. And sometimes for a lot of people, but often it's just for 2 or 3 or 4. I got the sous vide called it's kind of the Apple the iPhone of sous vides, and it's called Joule, 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 and it's made by that company Breville. And it's really straightforward, and it hooks up to your phone, and you basically control it with your phone. And they have recipes, so if you want to do a steak or whatever, you find their steak recipes. They tell you exactly what to do, what temperature to do it, if you want it rare or medium rare, or how you like it, and it'll time it for you and everything.
That's amazing.
And I'm looking at it right now. It's less expensive than I expected.
And the thing about the rap against sous vide is that it takes a long time, and indeed it does. But here's the cool thing: is that the people at Breville invented a Joule turbo, which is where they, because the principle behind sous vide is you get water to a certain temperature, and you put the food in a plastic container. The food can't overcook because it can't get any hotter than the water is. So if you like your steak, rare, you set the water to 129 or something. And then what you're going to wind up with is a totally rare steak all the way through, which looks really weird at first.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes, depending how thick the steak is, that can sometimes take a couple of hours. And then you take it out, and then you sear it in a pan for like 1 minute on each side, just to get that crust and everything. But the turbo Joule, and they should pay me now for this promo. but this is interesting because we were talking about tech. The turbo figured out the algorithm so that they can heat the water hotter for just the right amount of time, and then bring it down so that you cook your steak twice as fast, but you still have the same.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and you probably don't have to rest it either.
Yeah, you don't have to rest it at all. I mean, so anyway, I highly recommend the Joule. I found it a lot of fun to work with. And if you want to get fancy, you can cook like a pork butt or something, and you need to cook it for like 2.5 days. But then it comes out absolutely perfect, so you can have, shredded pork for sliders or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of experimenting is really fun.
I have never had anything made this way, and I'm looking at pictures of steaks cooked this way, and it is freaking me out.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you.
You sold me. I'll get it. I'm going to get one.
Well, it'll get you your perfect temperature.
Oh man.
Yeah, this is science cooking, Nitroid. You should be all over this. Like,
It's totally science cooking.
I am gonna get this.
I was supposed to say, as detail oriented as you are, you would be. This is all in your wheelhouse.
The thing is, you also, when you put it in the packet, you can add flavoring. So you can throw in like a pat of butter and a clove of garlic and some rosemary or something, and then sous vide all of that together. This is the other thing. If you're gonna get something like Joule, you also kind of need to get one of those vacuum pack machines.
Yeah.
Oh, those are so useful.
And they're useful on all sorts of levels. But so if you vacuum pack the flavorings in there, maybe a little salt and pepper and everything as well, then it's like pre-flavored, and you sear it for 1 minute on each side, and bam, you've got the perfect steak. So there you go.
This is the most immature thing I may have ever said on this show, but right now I'm getting cooking tips from Otacon, and it is blowing my mind.
I actually agree with you, Chris, about
this
it's better to it's better to be a home cook. But I know you said your wife likes the filet mignon. I've got a
Right.
controversial opinion, but I always think the filet mignon is best cooked on someone else's credit card.
I don't think there's any controversy about that. I'm 100% with you on that. It's a pricey cut of meat.
Yeah.
You know, particularly if you get the top level prime meat. I mean, there's I live in Brooklyn, and there's a couple of butchers, really top level butchers near me, and their price for filet mignon is just like I have to take out a loan to even consider buying. I mean,
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but it's so much better when it's free.
Yeah, no question. Well, isn't everything really when you think about it? I don't know, maybe not everything, but
I think you get to a point with steak where I mean I don't know. It's like one of the only things I cook. It's my favorite thing to make, and
right.
I sometimes prefer it than when I have it at a restaurant to how I make it myself. But
Yeah,
Sure.
I would agree with that.
Sure.
Yeah, restaurants just have access to so much more like just different seasonings and stuff sometimes. Like they've just got their proprietary stuff that's just like, man, this really hits from, a certain place. But
Yeah.
Right.
My wife is the cook in our home, and it's probably a good thing because I would burn water.
I'm a simple man. I do a cast iron, just through and through on that, and just
That is certainly one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah.
That's cast iron cooking is fantastic.
You got me thinking about the sous vide stuff for sure, though.
I actually just used my cast iron to make some I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Wagyu burgers.
Wagyu.
Oh, really? Wagyu.
Yeah.
Wow. Now that's pricey. That's pricey too, that stuff.
Costco makes it a little less
Okay,
painful.
yeah, Costco.
Yeah, but
They got Wagyu at Costco.
yeah, but is
Wait
it
a minute.
really? I mean, unless they're importing it, is it really? Wagyu?
It's like yeah, it's not crazy.
It's like
good,
wasabi.
but yeah.
I get it.
But still, it was good. It was tender. It was a good burger.
Nice.
Also had the char on both sides, but definitely love
Nice.
using the cast iron for that. And this cooking talk has been such a nice surprise. I'll be honest with you. What is your favorite dish? And if you want to, I'm down for talking about this more. But if you want us to stop prying, I'm also down for that as well.
No, it's hard to pick a favorite dish because one of the things I really love about eating is variety. And it's kind of the same answer when people ask me, do you prefer voice acting or do you prefer on camera? And it's like, I prefer the variety.
Yeah.
That said, certainly, a really well-cooked steak is definitely a top level thing. There's honestly, there's a beef stew recipe that I make that is just really just out of this world. And I was in France back in 2018 and we kind of, some people who lived in Paris took us to this small, out of the way, not very fancy French bistro for lunch. And it was kind of a working man's bistro.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this daube au provençal, and it was like one of the best things I've ever tasted. So I tracked down a recipe for it.
I have no idea what that is.
Well, it's it's a beef
sorry.
stew. It's a beef stew, but it has flavors from Provence. So there are olives in it. There are little strips of orange rind.
Ooh.
There are a couple of other seasonings. I think there's thyme that gives it a very particular flavor. And it's really delicious. But, so that is, that's more work than a steak, but it's fun work. I don't know. I think what I really like to eat, if possible, is stuff that's, really fresh, like really good fish that's like just been caught,
Yeah.
is amazing. But I mean, I'm not really answering your question because I don't really have an
No, you're totally giving us an answer.
No, that's an answer.
No, we understand completely.
Do you find yourself out on the water catching fish, or do you do any of that?
I don't do it as much. We my family has a house that we've had since I was a kid, and it's on the water in southeastern Massachusetts. So we do go out and sometimes catch striped bass or bluefish, and that is really fantastic when you just bring that home and just cook it.
Yeah.
I prefer that on the grill, frankly, to just, in the summer, it's just pretty astounding. But I'm not a huge fisherman. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fisherman.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's fun every once in a while.
Yeah, it's fun. I tried fly fishing once. I was out in Montana and tried it. And that was fun. But I didn't catch anything.
Yeah, just getting that technique down seems like a whole lot.
Yeah. No, it's very, it's like meditative and
yeah, once you get in the rhythm of it, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. And just, I mean, every now and then a really good hamburger. Can't beat it.
Yeah.
Can't beat the basics when they're done right.
Yeah. Really.
You really don't need, people try to fancy up a hamburger. You really don't need that much for a hamburger. A little salt, a little pepper. It's all about how you cook it and the structure, I feel like, more so than the spices. Just keep it simple.
I agree.
Yeah, making the patty, like you said, just the structure of it and just how tightly you've got that all, just and how many times you kind of go around and just pack that in. That's important.
Right. And then, what you put on it is optional always. I don't particularly like lettuce on it, but some people do. There's a place in upstate New York. There's a lot of breweries in upstate New York. I'm thinking about this because we were just up there for the birth of my stepdaughter's baby, and a lot of these sort of craft breweries also, will serve you a burger. And it's pretty good. And then there was one that had a mushroom concoction that was really delicious on the burger itself. So, and so cheese or no cheese? That's my question to you guys.
On burgers?
On burgers.
Yeah, cheese.
Yeah, I'm normally team cheese for sure. Yeah.
Usually cheese.
And sometimes bacon.
Oh, bacon. Well, sure. I mean,
I feel like bacon will just make like any burger better, but sometimes just you need that to just like stand on its own burger. It's like a cheat code. You're like, all right, yeah, throw bacon on it. It's like, well, okay,
right.
What are you doing?
I hope there aren't any vegetarians listening.
Whoever put that cheese on first, what a genius.
Yeah.
What a genius.
Throw a little bacon and barbecue sauce.
Let's get some drama going. Are we going In-N-Out or Whataburger or what's the top chain here?
Why are you doing this?
We got Five Guys up for grabs. I mean, I would say that over In-N-Out for sure. But
Five Guys is pretty good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There's a place in New York called Five Napkin Burger.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty good. I don't know. I mean, there's a tiny place in Park Slope, Brooklyn called Bonnie's that serves an astounding burger, and it's almost like a diner. It's like this tiny little place, and it's not fancy, but boy, are their burgers good.
Those are the best.
The little holes in the wall, Just,
yeah.
They got some secret recipe they just been passing down. It's just some guy in the back just slinging them out.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you've ever eaten. You're like, what the hell? That's like so like just like disarming when that happens. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Really good. Oh man. So you've been, of course, a huge part of the Metal Gear series. So you've seen all the dialogue and all the story that goes down in that, and it's got to be crazy seeing so much of the stuff that happened in MGS2 kind of happening in real life now with just AI and social media and all of that. I mean, we talked to David a little about it.
Yeah.
AI in particular. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is astounding, but I mean, Hideo Kojima is a very, he's kind of visionary, I think, in many ways. And he was certainly ahead of the curve on that one. And what amazes me is the speed at which we are just rocking towards, wherever we're going. But the development of AI has just happened so fast. And it's interesting because if you look at, you talk about Metal Gear 2, that I remember when we were recording that, there was a huge advancement in the technology, and so we were made to sit down, and they gave us a sheet of paper with like a grid of different words, and we had to say each word 3 times. This is how I remember it. I'm pretty sure that was basically that.
Yeah.
And what that did was they were able to throw that into the computer, and whatever our characters would say, they were able to make the images, the kind of graphic images,
unlike the models. Yeah.
Right. They were able to make the graphic images, their mouths, their lips move to the words.
Yeah. Phonetic analysis.
Yes. Right.
It's funny. We were just talking about this week, and how it's just kind of how that technology is, it's so different nowadays than what they're kind of doing, and the difference, of the systems at play. Like Nitroid knows it way better than I do, but it's definitely an interesting world there. That it's like for something like that, for lip sync, it's like cool, yeah. Give that to AI. Nobody in this world wants to sit there and manually line up stuff,
Exactly.
Oh man, no. The short version is the difference in this tech now is like the difference between a flip phone and a smartphone. It's exponentially more advanced.
Yeah.
There's no question. I mean, and nowadays, really, if you're making a big game, you're doing motion capture, or at the very least, you're doing, facial capture, which we did on 4, I think. But it's just that, as you say, the technology has just jumped in leaps and bounds as we made our way through the series, and I'll be really interested to see where it goes from here,
And that's what was interesting. They were saying that, I think it was it on Rebirth that they did this, Nitroid? I think that they basically, instead of using actors, they were kind of training that off of previous games. So
yeah,
I don't know if you got paid for that sit-in session where you were doing those things, but it's like, damn it, that's another job kind of that people were doing, at least in the studio, that had techs, and it's like it's eating up these little operations here that are happening. It's like, damn it, that's another gig. Like, I don't know. It sucks.
Right. And it's also eating up the actor's job.
And that's what I was saying. Like, I don't know if that kind of stuff is trickling down to you.
That was in the negotiations, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's in that was in the negotiations for the strike last year. And I'm not completely up on it, but the interactive contract for the Screen Actors Guild interactive contract, they're still negotiating, and it's a huge, very important thing.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a ton of lawsuits right now just coming out with all this.
Right, exactly, and I mean, there's no question that they can take, if they can take 15 seconds of my voice and then make me say whatever they want me to say.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's really pretty scary. Some fans sent me an email and said, "Hey, I was just listening to this ad and it really sounds like you. Did you record this or not?" And he sent me a link, and I went and listened, and it did sound a lot like me doing Otacon.
But it's like it was trained off of you, yeah.
Well, yeah, and the problem is, how can you prove that? You can't, there is apparently, who was it? One of the other actors was telling me there's a website where you can go and you can pay to have your favorite character say whatever you want them to say, and it's all AI.
Oh, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a bunch of them, and I think some of them are using my voice. And you have to like send a cease and desist letter, and and are they really going to do it? And can they claim, well, it's not actually you, it just sort of sounds like you? And I mean, it's very, very tricky.
Yeah.
And it could get us all into, really, I mean, we're definitely heading into difficult territory, I think.
Yeah, you're seeing studios take advantage of it already and just,
Sure.
just kind of, they're trying to like sneak it out, but there's normally some telltale sign of just like, hey, this sucks in some way or another, so therefore it must be AI. But like, there's some negative like indicator is what I'm saying. It's just like, I can tell this is AI because it's off. Something's just, there's some little
there's something unhuman and uncanny about it. But it's, I hate to say it, but it's kind of even worse than that. There was a news report just a week ago about a high school principal in Maryland who got in trouble because somebody had reported him using AI faked voice clips of him saying just all sorts of offensive things.
Wow.
And then after investigation, they found out it was fake.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that kind of thing, we're not far off from being able to, show your favorite celebrities robbing a bank. I mean,
I kind of want to see that. I'm not gonna lie.
I'd sort of like to see that too, but
my favorite celebrity is Winona Ryder. So no, just kidding.
Oh,
well, there you go. I just, back to your point about it, that sort of uncanny valley. I still believe that AI is incapable of really hitting the variations in tone and emotion that a human being can.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not going to get closer and closer, but the issue is, at least now, is do the companies care if it's just a little off?
Yeah,
Will people
exactly.
still buy the product?
It's good enough.
Right.
Is it good enough to make the sale? Because it's all about money, as we know.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been wanting to do this for 2 decades. I remember back in 2001 when they made that Final Fantasy movie, and you could see on CNN there were things like, "Oh, it's the first truly digital actor," because of how amazing the CG was. I mean, they've been trying to sort of head in this direction of, can we just hit a button on a computer and make a movie without having to pay anybody for a long time?
Right. Well, I don't know if you saw that there was a demo going around where you could just basically type in the scene you want to see and AI would create it.
Yeah, the video prop stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Was it Sora?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, to my memory anyway, when Metal Gear 1 came out, there was no internet really at the time, not the way there is now. I mean, there was internet.
Sure.
It wasn't ubiquitous, yeah.
It wasn't what it is now. But, so that there were reviews in actual magazines, that you had to go and buy. And I remember, going to look at them because I was curious, because I had no idea what this was going to be. And the thing that struck me was that a lot of these reviews were like, this is the best voice acting in any game that we've ever seen. And it was because Chris Zimmerman, our amazing casting director and voice director, got really good actors. But the question always was, does that make a difference? I mean, it made a difference in the reviews, and I think it is made a difference in terms of the longevity of the game series because you can really get involved. You when you play these games, you get to know the characters and they become like friends, or because
it felt real.
There's a real humanity to it.
Yeah.
And can AI produce that same effect?
I don't think so. It can't improvise. it can't feel through something. It can only copy
Right.
what it's already been taught.
Yeah, it can only take direction.
Yeah, I saw someone make the point. It's like, all this stuff is working off of output, not process. And it's like, that's a great,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And it's like, man, it's never gonna succeed anything that's out already. It's just gonna emulate what's kind of already been.
Well, unless you think of us as machines, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. I agree with that. But I come back to the question is, are people going to care, or are people going to get used to that uncanny valley and start to not be bothered by it?
God, I hope not.
There's a certain percentage of people that, but I do think there are a lot of people that when they see it, they have almost just a visceral reaction where it's like, get this out.
Well,
like it hits you wrong, where you're kind of like, this doesn't feel right because I know it's that. And it almost gives you like a guilt thing involved with it. I saw a Pink Floyd art contest for like one of their music video things. All these people did all these hand-drawn animations. And then this guy was like, well, I typed into a prompt, like, what would a guitar look like if it melted? And that thing won the contest, and it's like,
yeah, I heard about that.
It was just like, bro, that's so sad that all these people poured all their, hard, just hours of work into this stuff. And this guy's just winning by, sure, he said he like trained it on data that he made himself.
Doesn't matter.
At the end of the day, it's not artistic expression. It didn't look good. Everybody's like, this sucks. It didn't. No one was really a fan of it, and when they learned it was AI, they really turned on it. So it does seem like the major opinion is pretty against it for the most part,
right?
Just as a consumer.
This is going to seem kind of pretentious, and I'm sorry it does, but like, it sort of reminds me of like, have you ever like pick some sort of media that you really love, that you've taken apart, that you have a deep appreciation for, that you understand very well. It doesn't matter, game, movie, music. Something you saw in a gallery. Really, it doesn't matter. Pick something that you personally love, and then have you ever had an experience where you've talked to somebody who's just like, yeah, it's okay, or they don't see what's special about it, or maybe flip this the other way. Is there something that you look at and go, oh, that's lazy, it's crap, there's no thought put into this, but it's popular,
Right. Well, there's a lot of stuff like that, at least for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that's a pretentious way to frame it, but like a lot of people don't really think about art past a surface level.
Right.
And so these blemishes aren't important.
Talent and popularity are definitely
right.
Yeah, they're definitely not on like the same axis. Like it's just popularity and how good it is. That does not correlate at all. So
no, it doesn't. But I feel like, I'm hopeful that people, for video games, we call them I call them video games. They have nothing to do with video at all. But but gaming. I've always thought of my job when working on that to be the human connection, right? Because honestly, it's just a bunch of ones and zeros, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a conduit to the humanity of it, nobody's going to be affected the way people seem to be affected by Metal Gear,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, does it ever become something more than the sum of its parts?
Right. And that something that becomes more than the sum of its parts is, for me, the definition of a successful, artistic venture. And it always astounds me, and the fan base is so extraordinary. But people come up to me very emotional about how deeply they feel either about Otacon or about the game. It has touched people, and I just don't know if that ever could have happened if there weren't human beings making that happen. If it was just AI voices, would that have actually happened?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I guess we're going to find out, because eventually somebody's going to try to put out a game that's all AI.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we look at like AI kernel, just like when he was talking, I was like, something's wrong here. Like,
Right.
Which it's funny that yeah.
It's gonna happen, and it probably somebody's working on it now. I'm sure.
I'm not looking forward to that double-blind experiment where we don't know it's AI and we all connect with it, and then they're like, actually, it was AI. Like, I'm not looking forward to that day.
I'm not either. But it's we'll see. I tend to believe that there's always going to be an important job for actors in this particular medium. But maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think there is, because like you said, it is that human element that is important, and when it's missing, it doesn't hit as hard.
Right.
Just we can always tell, whether your brain did, whether you knew it or not. It's just there's always something off that just sets it. And Metal Gear hits so many different times across the series, just kind of gut punches you emotionally, and all of a sudden you're sitting there just feeling a certain way. You're like, oh, damn, this is from a video game. And
Right.
You just reminded me of one of my favorite human lines. Well, two of them actually. Talking about ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Reminded me of that final codec call with Mei Ling and MGS1, where he's Snake is talking about memories are more than just ones and zeros. Like, as soon as you said ones and zeros, I thought of that.
Yeah.
Second line I thought of when you talked about humanity, and this is partially relevant to the conversation, partially just me being a little starstruck, but one of my favorite lines or conversations in the game is if you call Otacon at the beginning of the Rex fight, and he tells you about how to use to take out the radar, that circular part to the side.
Right. Yeah.
They're like,
you intentionally designed it with a weak point? It's not a weak point. I like to think of it as a character flaw. People just aren't complete without some type of character flaw, don't you think? I guess so. I owe you one, Otacon.
And it's such a human moment. Like, you made a death machine, and you unknowingly, to be fair, but you had to add that little charm to it, and it I just had to get that out there.
That's I love that you bring that up. I think that's wonderful. I honestly had forgotten that, but I remember it now that you mention it. And it's so Otacon. It really is, and it's it's really good writing. That they were able to kind of capture his character. Of course he would do that because he is on some level a humanist, and he there's a touch of whimsy in what he does, and he also is an artist, I think, and when he was creating Rex, I think he was in kind of full artistic mode. I think he was very proud of his creation at first, until he learned what it was being used for.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that.
He looked at more than just requirements. He was inspired by the media that he was influenced by.
All that anime.
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
Which has some of the best, just like mech design. Yeah, I mean, just sitting there watching anime all day, you're like, all right, this is gonna be sweet. Check this out.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I definitely think one of my favorite Otacon lines too is just when he's kind of gushing about Snake, about taking out the tank, and he's just,
"You're insane.
Otacon, is this your idea of a compliment?"
Yes. You're the toughest, craziest, most hardcore badass on the planet. You're the shit."
Like, you can hear him trying to find some word for it, but that's,
oh my God, I laughed so hard at that. Oh man.
But that's all that comes out, and it's like, just like he to hear Otacon like land on like, you're the shit. Like, I don't know, it's just, that's a human moment for me just really, I don't know, I love it, because I struggle to find words for it and find the simplest thing and grab it and go, there we go, that'll work. And I don't know, that was great to hear Otacon.
Yeah, you don't
break right there.
You don't get performances like that when it's sort of mechanically generated.
Yeah, the timing, the cadence of it, just the way vocals can come out, the amount of variables with just emphasis and tone and timbre, it's
right. It's downstream of emotion.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's there's thought behind it. There's thought behind it, and with AI, there's no thinking behind it.
There's instruction. Yeah, that's it. It's just like it's like if even if you had Chris in there herself, Chris Zimmerman, just doing this and saying to an AI, "This is what I want you to do," you still probably couldn't get anywhere near as good as results. Like even with that good of direction.
And there's not that element of like an excuse and apologies if there wasn't much of it with the production of MGS1, but there's not that sort of call and response where, hey, the director says this, but the actor is able to find some interpretation or some, unlock that the director may not have seen. You don't get that type of call and response from a machine.
It's intuition.
No, you don't. And there are times when we're in the booth and working, we tend to go pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times when Chris will toss out a word or something, like, so we have to do the same line again and then again to try and get where she's going. And sometimes, we heard about this in other interviews with her. Sometimes she doesn't say anything at all. She's just gesturing in a certain way. Mm-hmm. There's no way you could do that with AI. And also on the few occasions, I think it was particularly in MGS4, where you're in the booth with another actor, where you're actually playing off of each other, you get much more resonant stuff because
it's like this feedback, like immediate feedback from that. Yeah,
you're playing off of each other the way human beings do when they're talking.
I bet those are so much more fun too.
Absolutely, no question.
Yeah.
No question.
It's like, like laying down a track by yourself. They're like, hey, we just need the bass guitar today. And you're like going in there like with a click and you're just like, but like jamming out with everybody. Everybody meshes. You're on the same frequency and it just, it's there.
That's interesting you say that because I recently saw an interview with a famous music producer whose name has gone right out of my head, who was saying that he thinks that, the modern music has really lost its soul for that very reason. That unless they're recording live, all of them together in the studio, it's lost that back and forth between the musicians.
You get a little bit of flex room, like when you're just kind of all feeling off each other. But if you're playing on the grid to a click and you're trying to nail that perfect, I mean, ideally you do want to like record to a click and have everybody locked in and stuff. But it's like something about having everybody there at the same time tracking together. Versus, because that's the equivalent with music is like, it is the human imperfection. It's that little bit of lateness on the snare hit that makes it, and if you are just perfect, then it's like, cool, you're a drum machine. That sounds like a robot made techno. Great.
Well, I know. Right. Like, so, I'm a big fan of the Rolling Stones and part of what was so interesting, particularly when you saw them live, was the interplay between Charlie Watts and Keith Richards, and it was amazing, but there's always something a little off about it. And then when Charlie died, they got this new drummer, and I can't remember his name, and he's amazing, but
it's not the same.
It's too perfect.
Yeah,
it's not quite the same.
With drummers, man, it's like milliseconds make a difference. It's like it's just all about that feel in the pocket and just all of that. It's just like a groove is so just distinguishable. You can tell like who's drumming by just listening and be like, oh yeah, that guy's too stiff. Or
I know.
Yeah.
My brother's a musician. He's a singer-songwriter, and he was in a band for 5 years, and they recorded several things, but they put out one, I think, really good album, and they recorded it all together all at once.
Nice.
And they were amazing live. I mean, they were remarkable musicians.
Are you comfortable telling us the band name?
Yes, it was a band called Stone Honey, and their album, the album I'm talking about, is called the Cedar Creek Sessions.
I'm gonna check that out.
And they were kind of, it's what you would call Americana now, but it, it was 4 singer-songwriters who kind of would get together and they would each back each other. It was kind of like the Eagles in some way.
Okay, yeah.
They would back each other up, and one would sing lead on one song and one would sing lead on another, and their backing vocals they would do, which were amazing. And they really, to my mind, really, really catchy songs. And my brother Nick had I think a couple of songs on that album. So, but I'm a fan of live music in general, and the reason is that interplay between musicians, because they're basically they're talking to each other in the moment,
100%, yeah.
and that's extraordinary to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you change one of the musicians, you change the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and all musicians know that, Sometimes it's changed for the better, or sometimes it's just different, or sometimes it's not as good. But it's very different if you put in a different piece.
Yeah.
It's funny too. People will say like drummers are a dime a dozen, it's like, and it's, they're always like in every, they have all the jokes for every position in a band, but like, when it's drummers, it's like, oh, I'm the dumb guy that doesn't know anything about music or whatever. I don't know theory, but it's like, it's pretty important, man. Like, it's kind of like
they're keeping the pace,
kind of the backbone of everything that's going on here and can make this feel better.
They're the tanks of bands.
That's a great one.
Yeah. Guitar is DPS.
For me, it was when Peter Hook left New Order. And Tom Chapman, like, he's a great bass player, but he's not hitting those lows the same way. It's a different feeling.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's amazing. Well, I have massive respect for drummers because, it's not an easy job, and they some drummers know a lot about music theory.
Yeah.
And of course now on like YouTube you can see interviews. There's this guy called the Drummist. Have you ever seen his stuff? He'll take a top level drummer and put them in a room and play into their headphones a song that they've never ever heard.
Yeah,
I've seen this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I watch that all the time. So
With the
good.
drum track missing. And then
it's so good.
Then they gotta fill in their own version of the drum track. It's fantastic.
And that's one of the most fun ways to just like have that track with the drum stem taken out. Like if you find those drumless versions, they've got tons of drumless versions on YouTube. I'll load up my like electronic kit and just load up this big reverb sounding like arena sounding kit and then play along to some like Black Crows or something. It's just it's so fun. Like I love just like having you're the drummer, but the rest is all just the way it was, and you're so familiar with the song that you can just have fun. But to do that on a song you've never heard before, and you're just on your toes, pretty much doing the equivalent of sight reading but playing. It's just you kind of feel it and you lock in.
Fingers is our music guy. Can you tell?
Yeah. I mean, Chris, we talked about, having fun at live shows. I mean, you got up on stage at MGSCon when we did the DJ set, and that was
the DJ set. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Yeah.
That was so cool.
Hoping to do it again. This summer.
Yeah, I was about to say we're definitely gonna jam out this year again at MGSCon too. Looking forward to that, man. Yeah, definitely invite is open. Open invite for the stage for you anytime, Chris. Get up there.
Thank you. I'm an appalling dancer, but I have a really good. That's all.
Yeah.
As long as you are dancing, that's what's important.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to having you there again this year, and I think it's. Coming in that as a as a voice actor, and person that's involved in conventions and stuff. Like, was that something, or like just having that concentrated Metal Gear fandom there? It's like, wow,
that was remarkable, and I think, I think it was the first one, and so none of us really quite knew what we were getting into, but it was just astounding and so successful all around and really fun. And it looks like this year is shaping up to be even more so.
Yeah.
So that'll be a blast. And David Hayter will be there this year. So watch out.
We're going to have Otacon and Snake in the same building. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, look out.
Yes, staff's been working their butts off on getting all that straight. I've been sitting there watching it all come together, and
I believe it.
it's such a good celebration. I mean, you said like, I never knew how much this would impact, the community and stuff. But when you have a entire convention dedicated to one IP like this, it's like, well, I guess we did something good here,
Yeah, no
So,
question.
yeah.
It amazes me, and the dedication of the fans, and also, it's a really nice group of people.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like really, really great. It was just really great people all day long.
hmm Yeah, the people that came out in real life, it's like it's separate from the online crowd, and even if the online people showed up, they acted right, it's just like it just goes to show you that like we're not in this AI online world really. It's just that's just Twitter and stuff,
Oh yeah, the
so,
internet warps everything.
yeah.
No question. No question. And direct human to human contact, I just feel like it's more important than ever now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I would love to say get your tickets, but you can't. It's sold out. So
Yeah,
if you
too
have
bad
one,
it's sold out.
Oh
good
right.
save. I'll see you
Oh
there.
right. Jeez. I keep forgetting it's sold out now. That's crazy.
I think there's a waiting list. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Last time I
Good luck,
checked, it had
everyone.
150 people on it too.
Yeah.
Holy
Godspeed,
moly.
everyone.
Oh, good lord.
If somebody sneaks into MGSCon, is that acceptable?
We gotta allow it, I think.
Well,
on a
Like on
technicality.
principle?
Okay,
Yeah.
now okay.
If they're wearing a sneaking suit.
I just disclaimer.
We need a disclaimer.
Everything that we are saying is just jokes. We don't mean it legally. We cannot be legally responsible for anybody who attempts to sneak in with a sneaking suit and says that we said it was cool. Thank you.
Any opinions stated on the Kojima Frequency are not therefore linked to MGSCon. We're not representative of them. Thank you.
Right.
Plus, if you're caught, there's a loud sound, crazy music, and you get chased out.
Yeah,
Right.
that's not fun.
Exactly.
I want to go back to something that you said.
Can an AI cook steak?
I
Sorry,
want to
go
go back
ahead.
to something that you said when you had mentioned you had a moment where you opened up a magazine and the review said, MGS1 had the best voice acting you'd ever heard. And it almost sounded like you were like, yeah, of course, I knew that was. So, like, I guess what I'm asking here is, like, was there a specific time or moment while you were producing, or like a line that maybe you had that you were just like, yeah, this is fucking it?
Well, it's a tough question to answer, because when you're doing something that hasn't really been done before, it's very hard to sort of feel that. Part of the thing about MGS1, the first time we did it is we were really just doing the English language voices, because it had already been done in Japanese, and there were certain times where we actually had to match the timing to the Japanese actors' vocal work, because back in the day in 1998, it couldn't be done artificially, electronically. We had to actually match. So I mean, I think, my feeling was, well, this is fun and interesting. I really don't know if I'm doing a good job.
You did.
Well, thank you.
You nailed it.
Thank you. It turned out great, and resulted in more and more work where I did become more aware of, when something was working or not.
Mm.
But for that first one, I really didn't know, and I didn't understand how popular it was going to be. David Hayter did, because he's a gamer, and he also speaks Japanese, so I think he sort of understood, he understood what this was really. But I mean, I don't know. I didn't really know what it was until I went out and got myself a PS1 and took the free copy that they gave me for recording it, and sitting down and trying to play the game. And then I was so sucked in by it. And I'm, I am not a particularly good gamer. The sort of eye-hand coordination required to operate those things and everything, it doesn't come naturally to me. So, part of what was going on for a while there was that I was just trying to get to the place where Otacon appears. So but I kept getting killed, I couldn't make it through. And I finally had to go out and buy the cheater's book,
Yeah.
And it was a book. It was
Do you remember
literally
which
a
one did you
book.
get?
I don't remember, but I probably have it tucked away somewhere in storage. If I could find it.
I asked because there's one that's like really good and there's one that sucks, but
Yeah, no, I mean, this was good enough to help me find my way to, Otacon in the locker.
Yeah.
But it really took some doing. It felt like some sort of metaphor for something, because it's like, I'm just trying to get to my own work and I keep getting killed. Have some higher meaning. Story of my life.
It is a tough game to get through. I mean, it's like it's a constant puzzle. It's not just like run right and shoot stuff. It's like, okay, now what? Like, oh, never done that in a video game before ever. Cool. Like it's
Right.
throwing these novel ideas at you. So yeah, just trying to figure that out without a guide. I mean, it's a tricky game. So don't feel so bad about that. Like
Well-
a lot of people got the guides for that game, and like Days said, some of the stuff is just completely just made up at the time and unofficial as hell. So.
Sure,
But-
and it was still fun even with the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and it just grabbed me from the opening moments because it was suddenly like, oh my God, I'm in a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Just it was fantastic. So
That's when you really see it all just come together, and just you see that presentation of just the sound and the music
Yeah.
and the credits coming in. You're like, oh shit, yeah, this
Yeah.
is like movie level. Like this is an evolution for video games. Yeah.
Right, exactly, and then also the sort of, oh my God, it's 4:30 in the morning. Where did the time go?
oh yeah.
That thing really happened to me.
Yeah.
You reminded me of a core memory of mine where my dad was so entranced with the game, and even when my mom was like, it's time for dinner, he'd be like, yeah, I can save, just give me a second. And he would just keep going. Like he told her that there were save points, and we both knew that you could just save anytime.
Right,
Every
exactly.
kid has lied about save points at some point.
Yep.
Well, a grown man lied about save points too.
Beautiful.
So,
That's awesome.
Oh, I love your dad. Give him my best.
will do.
Don't feel bad about finding Metal Gear Solid difficult, because it's definitely one of the hardest games to get into compared to all the others. Like the others later added the very easy and became so much easier on the beginner end compared to
Right.
one. I think one is the hardest on the beginner end, honestly.
Oh, that's interesting.
The controls are just like not intuitive. It's like a system you've never played. You're just like, wait, what? Like it just doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, and they had the training, stuff,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
did that. I did that to a certain extent, but even so, you're
Yeah.
right. It's not intuitive. It's not intuitive at all.
It's I'm not sure if you're familiar. Our buddy here, ApacheSmash, he runs these games actually blindfolded, and it's gotten to the point where he can like play them with just the audio cues coming into his headphones and can just run
Wow.
like all the games that way. So it's
Wow.
crazy how well people can learn that system too, though, and just like master it. It's,
Yeah, it's amazing.
remarkable.
I hate it.
That's
It is a completely like unique game as well. Like especially when Metal Gear Solid came out, there's no games even that play similar. There's nothing to compare it to. So even
Pac-Man.
if you had played a lot of other video games, yeah, Pac-Man is probably the closest thing to it. Which
Yeah.
is kind of weird to think about.
Give Pac-Man a gun.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think Pac-Man and let's see, Pac-Man was one of the few games that I had ever played. Pac-Man and Space Invaders and Tetris. Oh, and Pong. I played
The
Pong.
big four. Yeah.
So
That's definitely a big jump to Metal Gear Solid 1 all of a sudden.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, definitely a big change.
Yeah.
Actually, hang on 1 second. I'm gonna.
Yep.
My dog is barking like crazy, and I need. Hang on,
Aw.
I'll be right-
Let's get the word on the street.
Yeah, do your thing, man. You're good.
My cat sometimes barks. I think she forgets she's a cat.
Next question, Huey, guilty or not?
Don't he loves Huey. He'll defend Huey.
He will.
No, too many people have asked that. I'm not going to do it.
That's how we end it. Oh, this has been a blast. This has been great.
I would buy a Christopher Randolph cooking book, like a
Yeah,
book
for
of
real.
recipes. I need that.
Yeah.
I should put one out.
Oh no, he's listening.
I just heard that. I haven't heard anything else. Sometimes I go on stuff comes on my feed from like TikTok and all these people who have no idea what they're doing cooking shows, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, geez, I could set up my phone and do a little 5-minute instructive thing on how to cook something. But I don't think anybody would be particularly
I
interested.
promise you I would watch that.
Cooking with Otacon. That'd be interesting.
Oh my god, please. Yeah, I would watch the hell out of that.
I'm saying, man, like, yeah, I mean, there's YouTube. Like, I mean, you can really just, just start an account and just, if you kind of want to just do that and put it out there. If
Yeah.
you need any audio mixed down, let me know.
All right.
You know,
No, I'll give you a call.
yeah, man, let's do it.
That is too funny.
Oh, man. Yeah, thank you, man. This has been an absolute treat for all of us, man. I hope you had a good time too.
Thank you. I had a blast. It was
yeah.
really.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
I'm gonna get that jewel for my birthday.
Yeah, do it. And let me know how it goes. It's really fun. That some of the recipes are really fun to explore and play around with. It's a real treat for sure.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you at MGS Con.
There you go.
Yeah.
I look
We'll talk
forward to
steak there.
That'll be perfect. Thank you so much, you
Thank
guys.
you so
Thank
much,
you
man.
so much.
Yeah.
Have a great
Really
weekend.
fun. Yeah, thank you. You too. Talk to you soon.
right.
Take care.
All right, bye.
I was just gonna say, yeah, if you get one, you have to send in pictures of your food. One from the front, one from the front left, and a close up.